Hi everyone, I'm Dr. Bobby Stryker, founder of Flow Physique Factory, a science-based fat loss system. And I'm also the founder of Rescue.sg, a Singapore-based home visiting doctor service. And today we're talking about Ramadan. Okay guys, before we get into it, don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel, hit the bell button for notifications and all of that great stuff. And yes, I'm still wearing the stethoscope because the rest of the team says I should wear it, so to remind you all that I'm a doctor, until at least you know who I am. So let's talk about Ramadan. So it is a religious celebration celebrated by almost 2 billion people worldwide, and it's quite a challenging time, you know. Muslims who practice Ramadan, they have to fast, they have to abstain from both eating and drinking, so they can't even drink water, and that's from sunrise to sunset. And it's challenging, but it can be also highly rewarding. But what are the best ways to kind of stay in shape during this time? What should you be doing with your training and your nutrition to ensure that you continue in the right direction on your fitness journey? So that's what we're going to be talking about. Let's get into it. Okay guys, so you're probably thinking that if you're fasting during Ramadan, you're bound to lose weight anyway. So what's this video about? Well, actually, that's not entirely true. There's a lot of evidence to suggest that people who fast during Ramadan, they do often lose weight, but a lot of them, they'll be back to their pre-Ramadan weight within a month or so after Ramadan is over. And in Singapore, where I've been practicing medicine, about 15% of the population is in fact Muslim. And I've seen this a lot in my patients directly. A lot of them have really struggled. You know, they will actually find themselves putting on weight during Ramadan or not losing any weight at all. And then their diabetic control goes out of the window. What's going on? Well, basically, if you think about it, if you're fasting all day, you're not eating or drinking, and then suddenly it's time to break fast, you're surrounded by your friends, family, loved ones, and you've got an amazing spread of food in front of you. Are you really going to be able to control yourself? Or are you just going to go crazy and stuff your face? I mean, think about it. What's the reality here? So there is a high chance, if you don't have that discipline, that you are going to overindulge. And it's very easy to consume a lot of calories very quickly. And then at the end of Ramadan, you can be quite shocked that you've actually not lost any weight. On the other side of the conversation, you have to bear in mind that if you are losing weight, you don't want to lose weight too quickly. Remember, if you lose weight too quickly, you risk losing muscle mass. If you lose muscle, that's going to affect your metabolism. Your body's going to think that, okay, this guy's starving, what's going on? Something's not right here. And it will actually lower your metabolic rate. So when you stop fasting and you start to consume normally, you end up with something called fat overshooting. You actually end up putting weight above and beyond what you had previously because your body's trying to claw in all those extra calories and keep it and store it just in case you end up in this kind of starvation scenario again. So there are all these kind of little things that come into play. The other thing is that if you're eating less, you may inherently, without realizing it, be moving less. You might be exercising less, you might be doing less physical activities. So you're eating less, but you're also less physically active. So it kind of balances. And that means that a lot of people just end up with no weight loss at all. So we're going to cover a few strategies, going to give you a few pointers. So if your aim is to kind of lose fat, put on muscle or maintain your muscle, these are the best options to do that during the fasting time of Ramadan. Okay, let's do it. Okay guys, remember, you have to get good sleep. If you're not able to sleep and adjust well, you are going to really struggle to stay on point during your training and fasting during Ramadan. I've faced this myself. You know, I often get calls in the middle of the night to go and see patients, and if I have 4 a.m., 6 a.m. calls and I have to get up at 8 a.m. for my appointments, it's really, really challenging to stay on point. So remember, you have to sleep well, okay? If it's possible, one strategy during Ramadan is to just flip to a night shift. Yeah, if you are working on a shift pattern and it's possible for you to request for a night shift, do that. That's the easiest option. You flip to a night shift, you spread your meals out through the night time and your training, so it doesn't really change much at all. You can stick to your normal training and nutrition regime, but you just do it in the night time. That's the easiest option. If, of course, like a lot of us, you're doing a day job, you're in school, you're studying, and you can't do that, then you probably will need to tweak your training and nutrition in a few ways. And we're going to give you a few strategies which we hope is going to help you. Okay, so let's get into that. Okay, so the first thing we'll talk about in this section is your training, okay? Now, the evidence and research is very clear. Training in a fasted state on an empty stomach is not more beneficial in terms of burning fat. It's not. So those who say, oh, I like to wake up first thing in the morning on an empty stomach and go for a run because it burns more calories, it burns more fat, that's not true, and there's no science or evidence to support that. And if you factor in also, if you're not even drinking water and you start to push yourself and exercise hard, you're actually at risk of dehydration and possibly even serious injury. So with that in mind, we would recommend that you do your training about 1 to 2 hours after breaking your fast. So don't train during your fasted state. It will set you up for injury and poor recovery, and it's going to just mess things up for you. Okay, so train about 1 to 2 hours after you break your fast. In terms of actual training type, the training structure, we would suggest you continue weight training, okay? Now, the evidence also suggests that although it can be quite difficult to put on muscle, okay, you only need to do about 1/3 of the volume you typically do to achieve that muscle mass to maintain it. So if you're training about 6 times per week, 5-6 times per week, you can do 1/3 of that, maybe 2-3 times per week, and you will be able to keep your gains, you'll be able to prevent muscle loss. We don't really suggest you go below training twice per week because that's a little bit low to stimulate your muscles. The research is also clear, you need to train body parts at least twice per week for any kind of muscular development or maintenance. So that's what we would suggest. In terms of cardio, low intensity, steady state cardio. Walking, incline, treadmill walking, going out for a leisurely walk, all that kind of stuff is good. Not HIIT, not extreme cardio, okay? This is not the time for you to try and break your personal records. Don't try and beat your sprinting record, go for a marathon, do loads of excessive HIIT workouts. And even when you're training in the gym, this is not the time to set personal best records. Don't try and beat your bench press or deadlift record. You're going to injure yourself. Remember, you are in a slightly compromised state. Your nutrition, your rest, and everything is not going to be as it is usually. So if you push yourself too hard during this time, you are at risk of injury or poor recovery, or both. They're often going to go hand in hand, okay? So that's the training recommendations. Now let's get into the nutrition stuff. The first meal, the meal when you break your fast, this is the important one. The important one because this is probably going to be the most challenging one. If, like I said earlier, you're surrounded by friends and family and there's an amazing feast in front of you, the temptation to overindulge is going to be extreme, where you really need to kind of keep your discipline, keep your mental focus to avoid doing that. If you eat too much at this meal, you're just going to be too tired and lethargic, slow and groggy. You won't be able to train later. So we would suggest you try to break your fast with a faster digesting meal. So faster digesting carbs like fruits, bread, rice, and some protein. Fast digesting protein would be best. Maybe even a couple of scoops of whey protein or some egg whites, using some of the recipes that we even feature in our hypothermic cookbooks, stuff like that. Fast digesting, quick release protein and some glucose, and it's not going to be too heavy, and that means that 1 to 2 hours later you'll have the energy from the carbs, that sugar, the glucose, so you'll be able to train. And remember, carbs have a protein sparing effect, so any protein you've consumed, your body isn't forced to turn it into sugar for energy because you've already got sugar from your carbs. So your body can use that protein instead for muscle protein synthesis to help maintain your muscle mass or maybe even develop some. So kind of a light, fast digesting meal, and that's going to fuel your workout later. So that's the priority, and that's what we would recommend for your first meal of the day when you break your fast. Okay? Okay guys, now that your training is done, it's time for the heavier meals. You need to change the type of meals. They need to be slower digesting. So in terms of your vegetables, go for more fibrous vegetables, things like cauliflower, broccoli, asparagus, spinach, certain types of fruits, and you need protein. Don't forget to keep your protein intake high to minimize muscle loss. Aim to hit that target of 2 grams of protein per every kilogram of ideal body weight. Aim for it. Don't beat yourself up if you aren't able to hit that target, but aim for it. So protein, slow digesting, fibrous vegetables, and repeat this meal pre-fast. And you can even throw in a slow digesting protein shake. So instead of a rapidly oxidizing, rapidly digesting whey protein, you can opt for a casein protein, much slower digesting. These foods are going to keep you full for much longer during the day when you're fasting. And of course, it goes without saying, drink plenty of fluids. Unless you've been advised and you're medically not supposed to drink too much, in which case you shouldn't be fasting really. But otherwise, for most adults, about 2 to 3 liters of water before you start your fast. Just drink it all down. Definitely you're going to be peeing buckets initially, but it's really going to help you, and your body will be thanking you by the time it's time to break your fast. So there you go guys. We do have a blog post which kind of mirrors some of the information and adds on to it. It advises you how to calculate your ideal body weight and your protein requirements, as well as how much water you should be drinking. But use these strategies and hopefully you can maintain your gains and maybe make some new ones. So there you have it guys. We hope you find these pointers useful to keep your training and fitness on track during Ramadan. If you liked what we said, do like our video, do subscribe to our channel and hit that bell for the notifications every time we've got a new video out. We'll try and bring you useful content every week as much as we can. And Eid Mubarak everyone, or as we say in Singapore to our friends here, Selamat Hari Raya, Al Hafiz.